Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network. We bring you a guided meditation every day of the year, and today our fabulous guest meditator is Harold Becker. He is the founder of the Love Foundation, and he'll be telling us more about that after the meditation. Harold, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, always a pleasure, always a joy actually to join with this particular audience.
Thank you. Well, so we're ready whenever you want to get started.
Okay, that's great. So as part of the overall theme of what we're all doing, we know that a lot of us have traveled this particular pathway for a while very consciously. However, we also know that everybody on the planet is a being of love. So today I would like to share a meditation that really draws us back to our core as a spiritual being on this planet at this particular time, as kind of a reminder of the bigger picture. So with that, I encourage and invoke everyone to just kind of quietly and gently begin to settle down and take that brilliant attention that we have on the outer world where everything seems so real and so tangible, and begin to bring a stillness and a calmness within our physical body, our emotional body, and our mental body. And we do that with a precious and simple way of breathing, taking conscious breaths, noticing our breath, because it's in the breath where we become aware and align with our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual selves all at once. We bring ourselves into this particular moment. The lovely breath, that which is there for us throughout our life, that we most often don't even realize. That precious, beautiful breath that literally causes our lungs to give our heart a nice tight squeeze, a nice tight hug each time we breathe in and out. It's such a beautiful journey, such an incredible body, such a engaging mind, and such a beautiful, lovely presence that each of us are. Part of drawing our attention within is to reconnect, or more consciously connect, with our greater selves, our magnificence, our beauty, our preciousness, our eternal nature, our love. So as we continue to just gently bring ourselves deeper within, ever deeper with each breath, we simply feel ourselves present here, whether we're sitting or lying, whatever we're doing at the moment, however we're posturing ourselves. We can just simply feel ourselves, our totality in this physical presence. As we draw ourselves more quietly and consciously into this presence, we begin to feel and connect with that eternal flame, that eternal spark, that pure beingness that's at the center of our own body, of our own mind, of our own heart space. This is our true self, our genuine self, our eternal self, our infinite self, our magnificent self, our cosmic self. This is just a glimmer, a beginning point of recognizing our grandness. It's this flame of love, this spark of love in the center of our being, in the center of every cell, in the center of every atom. It's this united, interconnected, bright white light, pure love, unconditional love, housing all of our potential now and forevermore. For in fact, we are all precious, lovely beings on this planet. And when we connect from within, we realize and remember and unite with this deep, enduring, timeless truth. We are all lovely beings. We all are lovely beings. We are all lovely beings. Matters not what our personality has become for reasons beyond our comprehension, our eternal nature, because we are all lovely beings. And when we are connected from this heart center, we instantly and eternally know this vibrant truth that we are all lovely beings. We are all lovely beings. We've come onto this planet to have adventures and journeys and joys and expansions. And in the outer world, many things take us in many directions. But at the center of our being, we are all lovely beings. Always has been, always will be. And in this interconnected, purely connected, radiantly connected light of love, we realize that with our conscious attention, we in fact can broadcast, amplify, expand, enlarge, send, radiate, share, transmit this love. We can take this little spark of love that we may be initially experiencing, and as we adore it and understand it and unite with it, we realize that this spark of love, this flame of love, this eternal light essence that we are, it can expand by our own conscious desire, our own conscious intention. And because we are embodied on this precious planet, we know that in fact, as we begin to radiate, expand, enlarge, transmit, intend, desire for this light to grow, it of course starts with us. We expand it through our own beingness, our own physicality, our own atomic structure, our own cellular structure, throughout our physical body. As this brilliant ball of light begins to expand, it's starting from us. We are the center of our universe. And as we expand, we in fact gift ourselves first and foremost by expanding this light through our own physical body, into our emotional body, and into our mental body, where each cell and each atom responds in kind and adds to and amplifies this radiation of pure light and pure love, this eternal nature right here at the center of our being, our lovely being. We realize, as everyone is a lovely being, that we in fact can radiate and expand, enlarge, transmute, transmit, share, intend for this love to go out beyond our beingness, beyond our home structure, beyond our immediate community, beyond our town, our village, our city, our state, our province. And as this brilliant light expands, it goes in all directions, deep into the earth and out into the skies, across the land masses, across the water, touching not only our own physicality, but our environment, the natural kingdoms, the animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms. Everything responds and amplifies and adds because nature itself knows that it is a lovely being. So it feels and connects with this radiation, this emanation, and it too adds to the brilliance of this grand light, and it feels the connection instantly and spontaneously. It communicates, it encourages, inspires, and adds to, just as we connect with the physicalities of other human lovely beings, touching their heart centers. They feel this heart center being touched, and it sparks their own realization of their own heart center and their own lovely beingness. It just keeps growing. Each person, each place, each moment, deep within the earth, out into the solar system, this light just keeps growing, and it all comes from our intention of our own beingness, our own magnificence, our own grandness. As this light goes out and touches far beyond our own nations, out into the oceans, it touches the light that is present everywhere. It restores the natural balance of all things. There's nothing to heal when we are balanced. And this light and this love restores the understanding of that pure balance that is innate in every one of us and in everything around us. It's simply the love, touching the love, touching the love, touching the love. The light, shining the light, shining the light, and shining the light. The expansion is multifaceted, multidimensional, and it brings a grace and a dignity and an understanding of the true nature of who we really are as lovely beings. And as this continues to expand around our own planet, the hearts and minds of our fellow traveling angels upon this planet at this moment in time, whether they realize themselves as lovely beings or not, matters not, because on their highest level, they do know why they're here and who they are. And our light simply shines as a reminder, an opportunity, a realization, a gentle touch, a grace, a dignity that provides the potential and pure opportunity for each and every incarnated individual upon this planet to realize their lovely beingness. For in fact, when we all realize our lovely beingness consciously, we acknowledge who we are, our eternal nature, our beauty, our preciousness, our magnificence, and our grandness. When we acknowledge this simple truth, everything comes into balance. Peace and harmony are natural at that moment, in this moment, and all future moments. It's simply this grace of the light and the love that each of us are that restores everything back into balance, as it has always been intended, as it always will be. And as a collective of remembering, reawakening, awakening, awakened, aware, conscious beings upon this planet, as a collective group of aware, lovely beings, we remember our relationship to our solar system and to the many other planets, and the many other life forms, and the many other beings. And this continues to expand as we restore our place back into the cosmos, back into the galaxy, back into the center of all love and light. For we are indeed all connected. We have journeyed far. We have adventured close. And it has always been by the guidance of love and light. As we go out to the billions and trillions of galaxies and stars, we realize that same spark began with the billions and trillions of atoms and of cells right within our own body. For it is indeed all connected. As lovely beings, we can be love, for in fact we are love. It's simply the remembrance, the conscious awareness, the alignment, the integration, the understanding, the knowing that we are all lovely beings. Always have been, always will be. And with our own gracious love and light, we restore the nature of our own planet to the galaxies, and we are known throughout the cosmos as yet another brilliant spark of light. That same spark of light that dwells right in the center of our being. For we are in fact the collective. We are in fact diverse aspects, multifaceted aspects, multidimensional creations of that same spark of light, simply on an adventure throughout the cosmos to expand the light, to be the light, to share the light, to know the light, to laugh within the light. As we breathe our own nature outward, we in fact bless ourselves and all life, both inward and outward. And it's the simple recognition of the love that dwells right in our heart, right in the center of our being, this pure, unconditional love. An unconditional love that loves so deeply that it allows everything. An unconditional love that stands as a guiding light throughout eternity, as an inspiration, as a knowing that all is well throughout reality, throughout the universe, throughout our own beingness. And as we radiate this light of our own conscious free will and our own desire, our own intention, we are in fact blessing all life, which we are, because we're a part of it all, and it is a part of us. And in this grace and in this dignity, there is no separation. There's simply alignment and knowing, diversity and cooperation and collaboration, and connectedness and communication. That's what drives the entire flow of all light and love. As we communicate our love, we share our love, we receive the same love, we connect, we create the circle, we flow, we be the love that we are, always have been, always will, because we are in fact lovely beings. And from this space of knowing that we are lovely beings and knowing the power of our ability to share this love that we are and to receive the love, the cosmic love back in turn for all that which reflects it in the circle of life, it becomes easier to walk on this precious planet, for we see now through the eyes of love. As we know we are lovely beings, we gaze upon all our fellow angels upon this planet at this time, no matter what state of their consciousness, we see them as lovely beings. And because we see them as lovely beings, they are afforded an opportunity to remember that they too are lovely beings. We connect heart to heart, heart to heart, heart to heart. And in that space of pure potential and unconditional love, we shine a light to assist those around us to remember that they too are light, and that together we restore the balance upon this precious planet, the pure nature of its beauty, of its gifts, of its wonder, of its ever-changing landscape. We harmonize with the animal kingdom, plant kingdom, mineral kingdom. We harmonize with the weather systems that bring about balance, because we are in fact harmonizing with our own balance. We are knowing our own balance as light and love, as pure unconditional light and love. We accept all of ourselves, all those aspects of ourselves, with the pure embrace of unconditional love, because we know we are lovely beings. We are magnificent beings. We are brilliant beings. We are bold beings. We are courageous beings. We are creative beings. Always have been, always will be. Such is the power of our grandness, the eminence of our presence, the alignment of our knowingness, and the joy of the journey. For in fact, the journey is designed to be one of joy. We simply choose. In every moment, and there's only now, we get to choose our love and light and our joy. In every experience, we get to choose our love and light and our joy. In every dream and imagination and potential, we get to choose our love and light and our joy. For it is indeed starting from within, radiating out. Always has been, always will be. As grand, magnificent beings, as lovely beings, simply being love. As we have taken our conscious awareness out into the cosmos and we restored it back into the center of our being, I gently call the attention to the breath again. As we bring this breath, we align our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. We draw this grand magnificence into our attention and our consciousness right here into this physical body, right where we sit or where we're laying. We bring ourselves right back into this particular now moment, back into this reality with all this grandness coming in around us and all this radiation continuing to radiate outward. For now, that spark of love in the center of our being is a grand flame of love that shall never be extinguished. Our alignment, our connection, our conscious awareness of this beautiful, precious love remains with us forevermore when we walk upon this planet as lovely beings, being love. Breathe deeply. Feel your body. Feel yourself coming back into this conscious awareness, this outer world, this inner presence of peace, and this sense of innate joy. I welcome you back into this moment.
Thank you so much, Harold. You said several things that I jotted down actually, because I want to make sure that I remember them. You said there's grace and dignity in seeing ourselves as that loving being. And grace and dignity are two of my favorite terms. So I absolutely love that you put those in there today. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then it's connected to, but you followed up with our balances in the knowingness that we are unconditional love. Can you talk about those aspects for a minute?
As you know, as we've shared this opportunity numerous times, but the audience may not know, it has been my joy and desire and intention over these 30 some odd years that I've been sharing this remembrance of unconditional love as being very pragmatic. The Love Foundation is non-religious, non-political, and we use a lot of vocabulary and terms that are more universal.
Mhm.
grace and dignity, grace in particular is often more attributed to religious connotations. And yet dignity isn't usually brought up at all in religious countenance. Grace and dignity are really just a sense of knowingness. Love is such a graceful energy, and it brings such natural dignity as a understanding and an immediate knowingness, like real genuine love that is not conditional, just restores us back to our universal presence, our spiritual essence that is in this human form. And for decades now, I mean, I think in terms of, we try to go and do all kinds of things to make this a better world. We of course understand we have to start with ourselves, because if we don't really unconditionally embrace ourselves, we cannot give what we don't have. What we have within, we give out. What we give out, we get back. But if we don't actually have that unconditional love, if we don't have a sense of grace and dignity about our own pathway or an understanding of that, it's very difficult for us to be unconditional out in the world. And giving ourselves that level of dignity, of understanding that we are precious, magnificent beings. That, again, over the decades, it's been my kind of like simple, pragmatic, common sense thing. If everyone on the planet realized that they were lovely beings or magnificent beings, how instantly, spontaneously it would change the entire vibration upon this planet. It's really, when we look out into the world, no matter what path a person may travel, if they are externalized and they don't have a connection with themselves, they have a separation. And that separation is an imbalance because it's not natural. Everything about our body, for example, goes into balance. I mean, short of cutting a limb off, which on some level probably would regrow if we had evidence of that, the body is always striving for balance. So the body is always going to heal. It's always going to restore, and we can do nothing about it. I mean, medications and things that doctors definitely help, but it really is the body that's doing it. And it's really the body going back to its balance template. Well, if we look at that on a planetary scale, at the current moment, we're having rather noticeable extremes of weather. Now, these cycles have been upon this planet for billions of years. We're just happening to live through one of them more directly, physically. And yet, if you step back, and rather than using terminology of weather and weather events and effects of weather in relationship to our material belongings and our own livelihood, or perhaps our life essence, because some of it can be obviously threatening to life, it's simply the earth ever striving to balance. So everything that happens, if there's a volcanic eruption, or if there's an earthquake, if there's a hurricane, if there's a tornado, if there's a deluge of water, it's always the earth seeking a symbol of balance. So it has its own body and it has its own mechanisms. There is an innate grace and dignity in that, because balance is a grace and dignity. It's only when we get out of balance, when we separate ourselves from ourselves, that we become something far beyond grace and dignity. We are then usually thrashing about trying to survive or fix things or get other people to behave a certain way so that we can feel better. So it's a very practical understanding, the natural nature of our own beingness, that everything seeks balance. And the more we can harmonize with that and be in balance with our own lives, and unconditional love, I have a partial a bias to this one, because I do understand unconditional love. It isn't resolving love and fear. That's what often people will look at. Unconditional love doesn't recognize love or fear. Unconditional love just is the love. So in a sense, I always kind of visually connect it as it's something that looks over both, but doesn't judge either, because they all play a part. And our emotional sense of love, our human emotional sense of love, is very different than unconditional love. And yet, from a perspective of unconditional love, in daily experience, I can have a reaction, I can go to unconditional love, and in that moment, I release myself from that reaction, and I come from a completely different place of how to interact with the next set of circumstances. Very different than previous, where every condition met another condition, and basically we run around trying to resist the things we don't like. This is embracing everything for what it is, because when it does come into our world, it is really past tense. Our thoughts and feelings create our reality. So we've put things into motion. And even if we don't understand why it's in our life, if we can come to a response of unconditional love, or some semblance, come close to that, we can come with far greater solutions, because we are actually then solution oriented, not problem oriented. And there's a grace and dignity in solutions, not a lot of grace and dignity in problems, especially if we're revolving the problems ad nauseum. So again, I love the nature of finding all of this in a very practical sense, an applicable sense, that anyone from any walk of life can test out for themselves and find their own innate nature and their own intuition, and look at things much broader than we typically look at things. When I say there's trillions of cells in our body that we're doing nothing consciously to make happen, so that we can even have this conversation at the moment. And then we realize there are trillions of planets just in this galaxy alone that are collaboratively interconnected to our solar system, which is therefore interconnected to our planet, which is therefore interconnected with us. It's such a beautiful process and such a magnificent creation. How can you not get excited about it? But the pettiness that we get ourselves into when we become conditional takes all that away. And what we're striving to do, what you're doing with Enlightened World Network, what we're doing, the Love Foundation, is sharing that remembrance out there in the world that, hey, it's a much bigger picture, and it's not nearly as difficult to connect and unite with that love as people have made it out to be. So you had second part to that question. I don't know if I put the two together or if I...
No, you did. You
Okay.
put the two together. And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up was when you said every moment we get to choose our love and our light and our joy. And I think even in really dire circumstances, we still have that opportunity each moment to
Yes.
decide where you're going to come from.
Yes.
What
And
you're going to put out into the world, moment by moment.
I would say that there's a momentum of thought upon the planet that is still out there, that has a disconnect about, for example, death. Because in many ways, I think that is the underlying core fear that people would, or separation from that death experience, for example. And I say that because that would essentially be the most extreme end result. When we understand our eternal nature, and that we are eternal creative beings traveling throughout the cosmos to have all kinds of adventures and journeys and have all kinds of different experiences, and to expand our knowingness in ways far beyond anything earthly. I mean, this is a great place to expand things, but there's so much more. That then takes the understanding of death to a different level, where many people religiously are concerned about, is this our only life? Or even scientifically say, this is our only life. This is the only thing we've come here for. And they often contemplate then, what is it afterwards? And is there a judgmental response, a heaven and hell? Is there something, if we can, once we pass, what happens to us? Well, I've just found that so almost comical, because if there is an afterlife, which most people would agree to, there clearly has to be a before life. Because you can't have an afterlife if you don't have a before life. Well, now if you put in a before life and an afterlife, then that means there's a lot more consciousness a lot more conscious awareness of why we're here at this particular moment. And when you kind of integrate that, even if we're at a moment of potential passing, we have that opportunity to recognize we don't actually pass. Our consciousness continues on. So we can dissipate or transmute or ameliorate that whole idea of death as a finality and going at it from a fearful place, and we can step into a sense of love and say whatever is next is going to be as grand as what I'm doing right now. And the now moment is kind of interesting because there really is only the now. And again, our brain doesn't tackle these concepts very well because their brain tends to be very linear. But we are, in fact, in this present moment, able to think about last week, and we're able to imagine the potential of next week. Well, last week, when we were at that thing we're remembering, that was a now. Mm-hmm. And here we are in a now, having this conversation about that now. And I can think about what I might want to do next week in that now. Well, it's the same now. So amplifying that to respond to this particular idea is that this is the only moment we really are living, and which is why a physical breath, acknowledgement of physical breath is so grand, because it brings our physical body, we become aware of our physical body because our breath is emanating through our physical body. We then settle our emotions and our mind quiets. And in that space of alignment, brand new, fresh, unthought of ideas can come through. If we're thinking about yesterday, we're not in this moment. If we're worried about tomorrow, we're not in this moment. And both of those will actually stifle us from the creative solution process that's happening, which is one of the benefits of going to sleep or taking a nap, is because we get out of the way. So it's really taken into this very practical context where the now moment is always now. It's a matter of how much are we aware of ourselves in this now moment. And the more we can do that, the more we can open up to the intuitive flow that is a natural guiding aspect of our grandness. There's a part of us that has already been there tomorrow, and a part of us that is already recorded yesterday. And yet it's residing right here with us, and it will find the path of least resistance. It will find the easiest flow. It will draw us to the solutions that we seek and desire. They aren't always what our mind conjures up, but if we're open to it, we can have actually far greater experiences by simply being more present and enjoying this moment. Because in fact, it all kind of comes down to this. For those that plan to retire and enjoy themselves, but they're miserable right now, it's never going to happen. So if you're enjoying this moment and this moment and this moment, does it really matter if the next moment we croak? It's down to that level of basic understanding. And each person is going to have their own way of coming into peace and harmony, dignity and grace with this understanding. And all I encourage people to do is really self-explore. Ask the deep questions, but don't ask so much outwardly, ask inwardly, and then be guided to Enlightened World Network, be guided to a meditation, be guided to a newspaper headline, be guided to a person that walks by and says something. The universe is always talking to us, but if we're not present, we're not going to hear it. We're going to miss it. And that's where this journey has become so filled with grace and dignity, because my relationship to all that is around me has evolved enormously through the power of love.
So, talking about love, can you take a moment and tell us about the Love Foundation?
Where do we begin? Now, the Love Foundation is our nonprofit. We started it in year 2000 as a nonprofit, really as an extension to what I'd already been doing the decade before, starting more conscientiously in 1990 with internal insights, because again, all of this really kind of stemmed from this understanding of I desired to know me. So the insights were internal, not external. Even if external pathways gave me insights, it was really me that I wanted to understand. And the Love Foundation became an extension of that understanding of love, so that we could take it in kind of a nonprofit expansion, so that we could do other things with sharing this vision of love. And the reality is it kind of took off in kind of a global way, which is really wonderful, because our simple vision is to inspire people to love unconditionally. And everything we do revolves around that simple phrase. If we think it inspires people to love unconditionally, then that is part of our program we share. If not, then We don't. So we do a variety of programs. One is Global Love Day each May 1st, which is celebrating our humanity. We have an Artistry Poetry Invitational, for example, that kind of relates to that. We do things that are just opportunities to share the universal message of our magnificence, our simple understanding of our grace and dignity, the restoration that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And that all this seeking and clamoring and looking for answers outside of ourselves, it's all right within ourselves. And for our understanding, it really is the essence of love that is the cosmic glue that keeps all of it together, whether it's here in our bodies or out into the cosmos. It's just this wonderful dance of love that is forever expanding. And we're adding to that expansion through our own creative understanding. The Love Foundation, we look forward to a day where the planet, people on the planet actually understand unconditional love, and we just simply go away because it's not necessary anymore. That's kind of our goal, is to just keep sharing the love universally. And as a result, we have touched countless cultures, and I think about 175 people in 175 countries have found us, because we don't really advertise. And it's always a unique adventure because people find us. And generally when they find us, we seem to be an answer to a calling in their heart. They're looking for expressions of unity and knowingness and understanding and groundedness and love, because that's what they're experiencing, with completely different pathways than I can even imagine, compared to many of the ones that we have been on, that they've come to this awareness of love. And of course, whenever we connect with someone like that, it's instantly, eternally heart to heart. It's brilliant. It's wonderful.
Nice. So, Harold, if folks want to know more about you or the Love Foundation, how do they find you?
Love Foundation, probably the best, www.thelovefoundation.com. And of course, we're across all the social networks. We have pages on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram, and you can find us. But if you go to thelovefoundation.com, we actually have a page that lists all of the other social sites that people can interact. And I welcome everyone and anyone to reach out through one of our forums and just reach out personally and share your story. I mean, nothing inspires me more than to see how other people have come to the realization of love and how they're experiencing the power of love in their life. It's so wonderful, because that's not typically the stories we are hearing about in the outer world. But I'm privileged to wake up every day and find people, and have people find me, that are actually living in love. And it's just, that's why I have no concern about the hope for the world. People often ask, do you have hope for the world in this crazy, creative, chaotic mess that is happening? Oh, absolutely. Because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That means we are first and foremost lovely beings. And if I can reach out and be a lovely being with another lovely being, those two connections create a powerhouse that is far exceeds millions of others that are not. So
Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much, Harold, for today. Friends, thank you for being here at Enlightened World Network. Your journey means a lot to us, and Harold and I are going through our own journeys as well. We are here on this planet learning right along with you. So thank you for being here. You all take good care. God bless, and we'll see you soon.